Hello everyone, my name is Nikhilesh. I welcome you to my channel RP Techno Hub. Today we're going to learn about arrays in UiPath. What is an array? An array is a sequence of similar elements or variable type values. At a given point of time, an array can hold a single variable type values. Array is single dimensional. What is single dimensional? So here you can see the x in x container are placed in two dimensions. The size of an array is fixed once the values are declared. So if you want to change the size of an array, that can be done manually, but you cannot change the size of an array during runtime. So if you want to pick the values out of an array, that can be done with the help of index. The first element of an array can be picked with the index as 0, and the last element of an array can be picked with the help of last index. And if you are not sure about the last index, you can find that out with the help of array length as array length minus 1. Now let us see how we can create arrays in UiPath and how we can pick elements out of an array. Let's get started. So here I'm dragging the sequence activity, and now I have the sequence container on my canvas. So I'll just name it as main sequence, and I will add a variable as students, and I'll change the type to array of t as string, and I'll add the values. So array values can be added with the help of curly braces. So I have started curly braces, and since it holds string type of values, I'm just uh, putting the values in double quotes like Mr. A, Mr. B, and comma Mr. C, and comma Mr. D. So I have got 4 students like Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, and Mr. D. And now how can I pick the first element out of this array? So using right line, and what is the array? So it is students. Let me just type in yes. So the IntelliSense has given you that array and open brackets and 0. You need not again explicitly convert this into string because it's already a string. The students array is holding string values. So now let me just run it just to show you this first element called Mr. A. And you can see the value there as Mr. A. And how can I pick each and every value from an array? That can be done using for each loop. So just use for each, and for each student, so you can change the argument type variable for each student in students. So what type of values that this array is holding, the type of argument, that is string. That needs to be changed here. Now you're good to go to pick the values from an array. So here I'll just do right line, and I'll say student. So now let me just run it. So I'm just commenting this out, first activity. So let me just run it in debug mode. F5. You can see all the values are printed out on the console, output console. Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, and Mr. D. Now let me just add another array variable called marks, and I will change the type of array to int32. So this time it will hold the values of each candidate. Let's say 55, 67, 93, and 45. So I've got four values for the four students, and now I want to pick each and every student's marks against their names. So let us see how we can uh, do that with only one loop. Okay, so here I'm anyways looping through uh, the students array, and how can we get the marks against their names? Let us see that now. So here for each, you can have the index. Let me just do Control K and get the index. So index. So I got the index. So with the help of this index, I can pick the other arrays values also. So here I'm just changing the right line text as student, and then I will add, so using, I'll concatenate the student name like student. So here the argument, I'm just taking the argument student plus marks, and I'll get the marks of the student as, with the help of index I can get it. So array is marks. So let me just click this expression builder. So marks of index, I'm using the index of the students array to pick the corresponding values of that student from marks array. So dot toString, because it will result in an integer because you are picking the values out from an integer array, right? So that needs to be explicitly converted into string. Yeah. Click OK and just run the bot in debug mode. There you go. So here you can see the student name as Mr. A and marks 55. There is no space given in between. So that can be done simply by adding a space between. So you can add a space here, or you can explicitly add a space, something like this. You can do in either of the ways. Just do F5 over again. That is in debugging, running the bot in debugging mode. So here you can see student Mr. A marks 55, student Mr. B marks 67. This way you can get the values of two arrays with one loop. And this can be done when the size of two arrays are same. So here the size of first array is, the length of first array is 4 and the length of second array is 4. So how can we find out the length of an array? So here we got the marks. Let us just see how we can find out the length of marks. So let me just use length of marks array. So I can simply use marks is the array dot length. That will give you the length of an array. So which is a digit, right? So which will result in an integer. So that needs to be explicitly converted into string. So this will give you the length of marks array. And if you want to find out the maximum marks uh, in the marks collection marks array. So that can be done using marks dot max dot toString. And if you want to uh, find out the minimum marks, that can be done using marks dot min. So let me just have that also. I'm just copying this, pasting it. Minimum marks. And if you want to find out the average marks, that can be done using plus marks dot average. You can just type in dot, and you will get to see list of methods provided by .NET for that. So I'm just finding out average dot toString. That will result in integer. So I'm again converting that into string explicitly. Now let us see what I have just tried out to do. So if I go to output, student Mr. A marks 55, Mr. B marks 67, C is 93, as you know, and length of the marks array is 4, and minimum marks is 93, and then maximum marks is 45, and average marks is 65. So as I explained you earlier, if I want to pick the last marks of the last student name without passing the direct index value, so I can get that this way with the help of length. So right line, so I'll say the last student name is plus, I'll just click this, plus students is the array students of students dot length -1. So this will give you the last student name from the students array. So let me just save it and do F5, that is debug run. And if I go to output console, you can see the last student name as Mr. D, which is correct. So we could fetch the last student name with the help of length of that particular array and -1, which will give you the last index of that particular array as 3, and we got that value called Mr. D. And this is about arrays in UiPath, and you can try out the different options, and these are the most regularly used methods in array. Thank you. Thank you very much. So if you think that the session is informative, please do like the video, subscribe to my channel, and please do not forget to share it. Thank you.